make a comment. Let me make a comment, and I'm speaking as a community member sitting in the back of that school board room. When the parents came and addressed their concerns about case-appointed calendar, we want to say we want to get their input, and we want to hear what they're saying. But you know, there was no follow-up. There was no attempts to try to come up, and I've said this time and time again, we need to slow down, and we need to start thinking of coming up with compromises that are good for everybody. We're not in the districts of 40 years ago, but we went through the same thing, and that's why I am so adamant about how I feel about bilingual education. I was here when we had to introduce that into this district, and here we are 40 years later, and we're still fighting the same battle. And the battle then was they weren't hearing us, and the battle today, as many in the community, in the Hispanic community, and even in the Anglo community, is they're saying we're not being heard. You know, we talked to them. If it was an issue, if it was an issue of a concern to a specific group, and I'm trying to think of good examples, but we could bend over backwards to work with them. But I don't see that happening with our Latino community. I mean, we, you know, again, as Guillermo pointed out, back then we were only 15%, 12 to 15% of the population, and it seems like we had a greater voice in decision making in this district. Back then, there was no thoughts of having a Latino on the school board. Back then, we didn't have Latino teachers, or very few Latino teachers and principals and what have you. We worked hard to bring that here so that our children, their children, can have role models that look like them. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And here we are, 40 years later, and those role models, those people that our community look to, are disappearing. One by one, they're leaving this district, and then they're being told by someone, you know, that they know better. These experiments have failed in the past. I pointed that out when we had that presentation. All you have to do is look at your statistics. The children who come to this district speaking English are not faring any better than the children who come to this district speaking only Spanish.
And as far as that goes, the Anglo population children, they're dropping out just as bad as Hispanic people. You're losing half the population. Now, the last time that this district had a walkout like this was when one of the kids started struggling with the principal of high school. Because it got to that point. What happened after that, it was, you asked for a solution. You had building committees, okay? An advisory committee from all the buildings of the Hispanic population as to their needs and how to communicate. You had leadership. You empowered them to participate with you. The experience is here, okay? At that time, I didn't have any experience whatsoever, but it took time to build that. Each one of these parents that are here need that experience to grow with their kids. They need that experience as to how to help them at home. Some of them don't know how to speak Spanish or English, but if they're worked with, they can teach homework at their level. And they're pretty smart people. But if you push them out and you don't welcome them in to the system, you're not going to get the results that you want. There's a lot of factors that go into it. They got just the same problems as everybody else. You know that there's 80, 90 problems in a classroom every day. From special ed all the way down to whatever, children have. And you need their assistance, and it's being pushed away. They don't trust administration, they don't trust the principals, because there's nobody there to welcome them with open arms. That's the problem. They feel alienated, and with their kids, they want, if you can't bring the parents in, they're not going to trust you with their kids.